Hello. So today is going to be this topic, and I'm going to do lectures, right? And I say lectures, not that I'm lecturing you, but because I'm a teacher. So I have Miss April, who is sort of my adopted kid. So she started with me when she was 18, and we worked together. I was part of her boss group or whatever, and she's just been with me, I guess at this point, probably for half of her life. And so she is also a nurse. So I'm super, super proud of her, and that's a huge shout out for her, okay? So she said, hey, I've noticed your content, and they were switched over, so thank you very much for all of you who have switched over. The people that I mentioned originally, isn't just them, there's a lot more people, but those are the ones that, always comment, so I know that those are the people that, that see them. But I have a lot of, diehard subscribers, so thank you for that. So I'm going to start doing lectures about life, right? And so I said, is there any recommendations? She's like, talk about spirituality. So so I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about what it has what it has done for me, and how I have gotten to the point where I've gotten to, and it's been a lot of work. And I think that before I hadn't wanted to talk about it because I hadn't fully embraced it. I am a teacher, so and all this thing looks kind of like weird, or like you're crazy, or like you're like a hippie. I didn't realize it, but I was dating this guy, and he says, well, you're kind of a hippie. And I said, what? And yeah, I guess I am. And so then I came back and told my kids, and I'm like, I'm a hippie. They're like, yeah, you're a hippie, mommy. And so so it's very interesting, right? So I had tried to keep my professional deal with my school and all that very separated from my spirituality, but it's all meshing together, and that's part of the things that I haven't really wanted to talk about because it's a lot. But as I have enhanced this YouTube channel, and as I have created my website, it is time. And so she told me, and she has and I have mentored her in spirituality as I mentor many people. And so as I tell my students, if they get me, it's because they are ready for the message. And really what the message is about, an awakening, right? And an awakening is about learning that you are a soul, and this is just a vessel, and this is just part of your evolution. And that, I believe in reincarnation. So I am going to tell you what I believe in. You can take it or not. Everything that I have learned, and everything that I believe, and everything that that I will be discussing, of course, are my views only. It is up to you to interpret what fits you, what it is that you want to believe in, and it's a ever so evolution of life, okay? So everything that I have created, and everything that I have done, and everything that I've learned has been self-learned, because as is in my business, right, my real estate business, I'm a teacher, so I'm all about, giving answers and explaining a lot. I have a client that says, don't tell me so much. Why do you explain so much? Well, I'm a teacher, and I feel that whatever it is that I have to tell them, they need background information. So I can't help it. So anyway, so I transitioned over to real estate, and I really started evolving in my spirituality. So what I learned there is that nobody's willing to help you, right? Because they think that you're gonna steal the content or whatever. So spirituality for me was very, very difficult because I didn't have a mentor, and I had all these things that were that I felt that I was guided to, that I didn't know how to proceed. With YouTube, there's all sorts of stuff that you can access now, and there's all sorts of maybe like mentors that are willing to really sort of teach you and stuff like that. And it is, and what I want to say is that this is a process, and this is an evolution, and this is work, just like anything, just like a relationship, just like a degree, just like anything that you want in life is going to be work, and spirituality is work. I had an assistant, and I went to Camino Santiago, and there's a hummingbird there. So hummingbirds are infinity, and they're, I forget what the other is. So because they, I think their wings, they flap in infinity shape. So infinity is infinite, okay? And so that's part of what I do. I notice everything around me, and that's how I get messages from spirit. I feel that I get messages from spirit, right? And so I also believe that there's spirit guides, there's spirit, there's God. I believe that God does not look like us, even though Jesus, died on the cross, because I'm Christian, I'm Catholic. But I don't believe at this point that God looks like Jesus or looks like us. I think it's source, right? And so I reference it as source, energy, God, okay? So I believe that there's God. I also believe that there's spirits. I believe that we're ever living. So when someone passes and I have a death in the family, I know that they will be with me and they will be guiding me. And so even though it's very hard to see them physically pass away, I know that they are very much with me. So I have opened myself to them. I also feel that I have, you know, angels and guardian angels that support me. I will talk about my angels encounters. You know, there was this lady on YouTube that says my encounter with angels. Well, I've had two, but I've just been too embarrassed to mention them. Excuse me, even though I believe them, right? So, and I also, I also believe that, that there's souls, right? And your souls are here, and I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that we are here to learn, and that, you know, it is through this lifetime that we expand, and then we come back and reincarnate, and if we did not learn the previous lessons for our soul's expansion, then we repeat them again, okay? So, it was very confusing for me at the beginning because as a Catholic, all of this was rejected and was not good, right? Anything that you sort of, you know, felt or saw. So I started getting, because of what I felt and because of what I sensed, and then I became a dream interpreter, and that's very clearly stated in the Bible. So I said, well, and then I started getting more into it, and so then, and I used to pray a lot, you know, I used to do like 5 rosaries a day for situations and things that I was asking for, just depending on what it is that I wanted. I wouldn't do full rosaries. I just do the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys, but I prayed a lot. And then from there, it took me to, you know, burning candles, and I felt that I needed to like burn candles. So like if I felt my father near, and my father passed away a long time ago, I would burn a candle. And then I started, you know, lighting candles for specific things like, you know, health or prosperity or unionness and closeness with my family and stuff like that. So it has been, so my spiritual path has been an evolution. And as April said, you know, talk about the cleansing and stuff. So we'll do that in parts. So this is just sort of an introductory video of what it is. So what happened was, because I was Catholic, right, I sort of believed that you died and you went to heaven, right, if you were good. You know, and didn't understand really, you know, hell or whatever. So I have come to understand that you are who you are always, even in soul state, right? So if you are, you know, and that's what we try to balance, and that's what we try to learn, because I believe that in this lifetime, the total evolution, not this in lifetime, in our lifetimes, okay? Because there are people that are not awakened in this lifetime. And so what that means is that they just don't get it, right? They were not awoken. That means that they do not understand. They might understand that it's a higher power, but they don't understand their being and their soul, and that it's evolving, something like that, okay? So, so what that means is that, I forgot what I was going to say. So I sort of believed. So then what happened is that I knew that I was a dream interpreter, because I knew that my dreams were different and stuff. So since the interpretation of dreams is stated in the Bible, I started saying, well, you know, God can't hate me because I'm a dream interpreter and I feel these things or whatever, because I am clairvoyant, which means that I can see the future. As I tell, you know, people that are clairvoyant, we are like crystal ball, okay? And we can not foretell the future, but sort of see the future. And let me tell you something. You don't get to pick and choose what you see and what you don't, okay? So which leads me to what I'm going to tell you later. So I'm clairvoyant. I'm also a dream interpreter, and I'm an empath, which means that I soak up energies and I can feel people and I can feel them, whether you're near me or not, okay? I can tell. Like if you're far away and I have a connection to you or not, I can still feel it, okay? So those energies were very, very hard to manage, and I didn't understand them. And it was a process of understanding what it is that I was feeling, doing away with the shame of it because of my religious background. I felt that was shameful and that, you know, that it was something weird and different and it wasn't true. So I started embracing that, because it is what it is, right? When I found out that I was clairvoyant, I sort of always knew, right? I always knew and knew things and things would come up and they would come. And sometimes it's hard because if you don't keep a journal, you don't understand, but sometimes you could see things like 5 years into the future and then it happens and you're like, oh my God. So I started writing things down just recently. But when I found out was, I was with my principal, my boss, who was a beautiful mentor, and I would tell him with things, well, don't you see that this is what they're doing and this and that, and he wouldn't. But it got to the point where we had such an incredible relationship where he believed me, and he, you know, would really consider whatever it is that I would say. So then I became a principal, right? And then the same thing happened with my staff. I would say, well, can't you see this is what they're doing? And so when they looked at me like I was crazy, like no, they couldn't figure that out, right? I realized that even though that I thought it was intuition or my gut or something very simple or something that was very evident and you could see it very clearly, that doesn't mean everybody else can, okay? And I have, you know, some people that tell me, well, that's normal, that's just normal, that's part of the process, you know, it's logical that that's gonna happen. No, it's not. That was part of my gift, okay? So I had a huge, a huge misunderstanding of what it was. People are going to say a lot of stuff to you that is not true. So you just need to be guided and understand what it is that you're going through in order to go through it. Okay. So at that point where I started shedding off the constraints of my religion, because, you know, religion is very, very constraining. Okay. And part of the reason that they created all these rules is so, you know, so people could sort of go along, right? And it's hard to, you know, navigate, and it's hard to conceptualize and bring something that is tangible to people that, you know, if people, you know, if religions say, well, it's source, it's energy. Well, you can't imagine God. So God needs a face, right, to be able to identify with it. But if you'll notice with all the, you know, all the prophets, right, Buddha, Gandhi, Jesus, Allah, or whatever, they all sort of say the same deal. And so it's all about love and light, okay? It's all about kindness and compassion. And that is our true state. And I think that that is what our ultimate goal is. And it gets to the point where your soul has evolved so much that eventually, as the Buddhists think, right? And I've gotten, like my kids say, you've gotten everything that you wanted from every single religion, and I have, right? Because religion and spirituality are different, okay? So it is about eventually not reincarnating because you have reached divinity, right? Because in the end, all the religions and everybody says that we are like God and we are one with Him. So what that means is that He wants us to be divine, and there's nothing wrong for us to be divine, and that should be our ultimate goal. And what divine is being in, and what heaven is being in the presence of God. That's it. If you're not in the presence of God, then that's hell, whatever hell is for you, okay? And I think a really beautiful explanation of that whole dynamic is Robin Williams. I saw it a long time ago, and I don't like to see movies that I saw a long time ago or reread books, because it's a different, you're different from when you see us, from when you originally saw it or read it, so you're not going to get the same out of it. But the Robin Williams movie was What Dreams Are Made Out Of, and that just sort of shifted my entire life and my entire thought of what spirituality is and what afterlife is. The other books that I have read, because as you awaken and as you open yourself up for this spiritual journey and ascension, okay, because we want to ascend, and that's been my purpose. That's part of the reason that in this channel, you know, I've gone to China, I've gone to Tibet, I went to Camino Santiago. Before that, I had been going to Chimayo in New Mexico for about 10 years and consistently did the pilgrimages. So I have actively worked on this ascension, which leads me back right to my one of my assistants and said, I don't think I have the discipline to do it. And so I hadn't realized that it is a lot of discipline. It's sort of what I told you about my the rosaries and everything that I've seeked. You know, I've been doing this like in, you know, early 20s. I started reading up on it and everything. So it's been a life path and a life journey, which really ascension and soul expansion really is about. So it's a life journey. So if you guys are on it, you know, This is great because you have a lot of people that now on YouTube and accessibilities to their stories, and you get little bits of everybody, and then create your own story and your own ascension and your own spiritual path, because it's going to be different for everybody, because it needs to be different for everybody, because everybody has a different path, and everybody's in this journey and this lifetime to expand on specific things that they need to work on. It's just like school. That's part of the reason that I'm a teacher, right? Because I could expand and I could have access to so many people and be able to touch their lives in one way or another. So it also is about spirit, right? And that's what I call God or whatever, you know, source energy, about spirit putting you in situations and placements and positions and careers where you do your work, right? And it's not really about helping other people. It is, but it's also about helping you and helping your growth. And so so your spiritual ascension is going to be specific to you, and that it's work, right? So it's like school. So you have to put in the work. If you want a degree, then you have to get it. Right here, we're not gonna get a degree, right? But we are, because it's an afterlife, and it's about understanding what afterlife is about, and it's understanding what we're here to do. And when you understand that, and when you see it in that perspective, and your life changes so much. You know, I've had my father that passed away. I have a very dear brother-in-law, and I have my brother that passed away last year. And so it's helped me to understand that they are in spirit life and they are with me, to better accept, you know, their passing, and understand that they're with me. I wish I would have been more awakened when my father passed away, because it would have been a much easier transition, and it would have been able to understand that it is through all your experiences that you have to go through in order to reach a higher level. And it's sort of like school. And the way I sort of explain it is that it's sort of like school, right? So in school, you know, you master your class, right? You learn your stuff, then you pass. You get an A, and you have to retake it. If you get an F, you have to retake the class, because that's one of the requirements that you need in order to get your degree. Same deal is what I feel in this ascension and this journey that we're in. It's about really expanding your soul and expanding the process, and you know, to living the best life that you can be, and learning the lessons that you have to learn, as hard as they are, because every single lesson is super hard, every single lesson, okay? And being able to get to a point where you've ascended, if you wish, okay? And you have to do the work. I had a student, she was very interesting. She had the chakras over here, and I said, what do you have there? And she said, I don't know, I just dreamt it one day. And she said, and I said, you went out and got it? And she said, yeah. So very interesting about that student, because for that class, they asked me to substitute, okay? And I believe that there are no coincidences. They never asked me to substitute. I went, you know, it was weird. I guess there wasn't anybody, but really why I went is for her. So I went, and because we had our conversation, I was sort of the path to some answers that she needed. So she just recently went on a pilgrimage, and you know, she was being very imbalanced, because when you're going into a spiritual ascension, you become very imbalanced, and you have people that don't understand you, and you're not understanding a lot of stuff. And so part of the spiritual path is that you sort of live like in two worlds, so it becomes very complex, okay? And sometimes it's very important to understand, like I'm an empath, so a perfect example of this is that sometimes when I have feelings, I don't know if they're mine really or someone else's. So I've had to understand which ones are mine and which ones are not, in order to understand what I am feeling, okay? So ascension and, you know, awakening is lifetimes of work, okay? So I will be doing lectures on that, and that's sort of like a little gist of what I, you know, what I had in mind. And so I think I will start expanding on ascension and spirituality and what that means, and I'm going to start getting into more details in terms of cleansing and energies and all that, if you all wish to join me. It is whatever it is that you're guided to read or be drawn to, make sure follow it. And I want you to start with this spiritual ascension, just trusting your gut. And it can start as very simple as if you're thinking about somebody, why don't you give them a call? And I bet you anything they're gonna say, oh my God, I was thinking about you. Or you know, they're gonna be calling you, and you're gonna say, oh my God, I was thinking about you. So that's telepathy, and that's connectedness that you're gonna have with that person. That's why in spirituality and in spiritual community, and in all the religions, it talks about being one, and it talks about the collective, that we are all connected. And so we are, and it's about understanding that. So you can do that. There's also the manifestation, and there's also law of attraction. A lot of people don't believe it, but I believe it. And so it's also, you can also, try it out, like say, okay, well, I'm going to find feathers, right? Or I'm going to find a penny, and see where you find it. Usually pennies mean that someone close to you that has deceased is there with you. And also you can ask, just pray and ask. If you don't like to pray, if you're not religious, but you're spiritual, you can meditate. If you don't believe in any of that, you're agnostic, or you're, or you're atheist, there's nothing wrong with it. It's about knowing self, and it's about meditating and understand, yourself, and being in balance and being whole in mind, spirit, and body. And it is first and foremost about understanding you and really working yourself, that you can understand the rest. I have been working at this since I was 20. I'm 54 right now. I think I'm going to be 54. I don't know if I'm 53, 54, or 54 going on 55. And so, so it's been a lot of work. It is also a very, at least for me, it has been a very lonely path. You are very misunderstood. Nobody understands you. You don't understand a lot of things, and there's no one to explain it to you. So make sure that you seek it. This is a journey of self, which is proper, which means that you're going to be doing all the work by yourself. You're going to have teachers coming into you, and when you're ready, the teacher will appear. So if you're watching this video and I'm legitly a teacher, right, that means you're ready, and you're ready to ascend. Understand that not everybody's going to understand your path, not everybody's going to understand your journey, and not everyone is awoken in this lifetime, and that was really hard for me to understand, okay? And not everybody that's psychic has it necessarily, like if they read the tarot or whatever it is, right, that they have a spiritual ascension that's high, okay? So you could be a really good like tarot reader and not be very highly spiritual. And so that was very interesting for me to learn as well. So some of the books that changed my life is The Seed of the Soul. I don't remember anybody's author, so I'm not going to tell him. I think it's Zach or something like that. So The Seed of the Soul is one. Wishes Fulfilled by Dr. Dyer. About reincarnation and past life regressions. I have The Soul Contract, and then Sacred. I think it's The Soul Contract, I think. And then there's another one that says Sacred Contract. Sacred Contracts changed my life, okay? And it's about the contracts that we have with everyone that comes to meet us. Understand that it is your responsibility to make it through life till the end, okay? Because there's a lot of destiny and there's a lot of fate. We also have free will. You cannot interfere in another person's free will, so that's why it's very important. If people do stuff, right, that does not allow for them to be free will, that's karma that's going to be created for you, and that you're creating for yourself. Understand that karma exists. Karma is neither good or bad. They're just energies. So you put in good, even if you're having a hell of a time, it'll eventually come back to you. So just chug along. There's bad karma as well, right? If you're doing something deceptive or whatever, it'll come back to you. And so it is a balancing of the energies and balancing of life and spirit. And it's a balancing of understanding what you're going through and your soul journey and your path that will facilitate this lifetime and will facilitate what it is that you do, what your triggers are, what you engage in, what you need to improve on, and where you want to be. But it's a lot of work. So get ready for it, because it's an incredible ride. Many blessings, love and light. Ciao.